Now on Fox 13 News at 9, as the war in Israel escalates. Tonight, a show of solidarity at home in Utah.
It's deeply impacting people here, and I'm grateful to see Utahns rallying.
Standing and supporting Israel here in Utah has a different meaning for some. How one man says he's waiting for a call to return home to defend his country.
We're tracking a cold early season storm bringing us significant snowfall to some areas. What to expect through the rest of tonight and for your morning commute.
Just days away from Utah witnessing the annular solar eclipse, but not everyone will be looking skyward.
We actually been doing this before America was America.
The sacred traditions being observed by Native Americans here in Utah. The OSIRIS-REx asteroid sample is unveiled in Houston.
It's unbelievable, and yet here we have the proof.
Fox 13 News sits down with the head of NASA in an interview you will only see here.
Live from Utah's news leader, Fox 13 News at 9 starts right now.
Kai and Hadar Bardichevsky, 30 years old. Their twins were found crying, their 10-month-old twins were found crying in a bomb shelter. They had been there for 14 hours after their parents had been murdered. Yafa Hadar, an 84-year-old Holocaust survivor, who was last seen on a golf cart surrounded by armed militants from Hamas. I'll say that one more time, a Holocaust survivor.
Powerful accounts of the lives taken in Israel as war there has now entered day 5. Here at home, Utahns rally in support of Israel for the second consecutive day. Good evening, everyone. I'm Kelly Chapman. Bob has the night off. About 300 people rallied at the Utah State Capitol this evening to show support and solidarity for Israel. The crowd filled with people of varied ages and backgrounds, some holding flags, others signs praying for Israel, and all people caught in the middle of a war zone. Leaders of the Jewish faith explicitly describing what the scene is like right now in Israel, comparing the savage killings to the Holocaust. Utah Governor Spencer Cox took the podium, sharing memories of his visit to the Holy Land and asking Utahns to unite, and recognizes the pain so many are feeling watching the devastation from afar.
There are about the same number of Jews in the world as there are Latter-day Saints. And so we're talking about 15, 16 million people, a very close-knit community. They all know each other. I mean, almost everyone here knows someone who was killed or has a friend or family member. And so it's deeply impacting people here, and I'm grateful to see Utahns rallying.
Well, the rally tonight lasted about an hour and ended with a prayer from Rabbi Zippel. That rally, however, did not come without conflict tonight in Salt Lake City. I was there when a protester with a bullhorn began chanting in Arabic just a few hundred feet away from where the rally was taking place on the south steps of the Capitol. The chants obviously upsetting to some people in the crowd as they ran toward this protester. Fox 13 photojournalist Aaron Kimball captured this video. Now, we're not sharing any audio due to the violent and offensive language being yelled. Just before this, rocks were thrown at the protester, and several UHP deputies ran toward the scene trying to de-escalate the situation. After several minutes, the two parties were separated and the rally continued without interruption. One man here in Utah at today's rally, originally from Israel, says he is now just waiting on a call to go back and defend his country. Fox 13 News reporter Chris Arnold spoke with him. He joins us live from outside the Utah State Capitol. Chris.
Well, good evening, Kelly. I spoke with Zahi Kozber, who served as a first sergeant and combat medic in the Israel Defense Force from 2009 through 2011, and says he even saw time in combat. Now, when I spoke with him earlier today, he told me that the war between Israel and Hamas is a fight between good and evil, a fight he says he is ready to join in on at a moment's notice.
The Hamas have done something that is crime against humanity.
Zahi Kozber is originally from the central part of Israel, watching the war unfold here in Utah.
The first couple of days were days of total shock, of not understanding what's going on, of feeling, I cannot even describe the feeling.
While the war has just begun, he says it's already impacting his family back home.
Both of my brothers are in the war zone. My middle brother, he was called immediately after the situation started to go get the gear and assemble his reserve unit.
And soon, Cosbert believes he could receive a call to once again serve the Israel Defense Force and help defend his country against Hamas.
My willingness to fight for my country is not related to any incident or event. The moment my country needs me, I'm there. I believe in the Israeli Defense Forces, that they know when to call me, and when they call me and they need me, there is not even a second thought.
That haunts humankind to this day.
Cosbert was in front of the Utah State Capitol on Wednesday as part of the Utah Stands with Israel rally. He gave a prayer in Hebrew, as well as receiving a blessing from Rabbi Benny Zippel.
Judaism never like to dwell on the negative. We like to dwell on the positive and moving forward.
And moving forward, Cosbert says, to keep those he loves safe.
It's a war right now to make sure Israel is here, is going to be here for many more years.
Well, the support for Israel here in Utah will continue tonight. Governor Spencer Cox said that both the Utah State Capitol and the governor's mansion will be lit up in the colors of the Israeli flag on Sunday. For now, live on the Hill, Chris Arnold, Fox 13 News, Utah.
We were both at today's rally, Chris, and I think you'll agree, extremely emotional. Thank you.
Utah supports Israel in its efforts to defend itself and its people.
On the Senate floor today, the Utah State Legislature issued a citation in support of Israel following last week's deadly attacks. It proclaims Utah stands with Israel and commends the Israeli people for their courage and their resolve.
Utahns, we stand with our Jewish friends. We stand with our ally Israel. We're praying for Israel and for the safety of all the citizens and a quick resolution.
The Senate also observed a moment of silence for the victims in the attacks, including Lotan Ubir, a 24-year-old Utah man who was killed in the Gaza Strip. There was also a rally of unity for Israel in St. George's Town Square Park tonight. Organizers say they want to do their part to stand with their brothers and sisters in the Holy Land. Rabbi Mendy Cohen with the Chabad Jewish Community Center of Southern Utah was one of tonight's speakers. He said when things like what are happening in Israel take place, people can lose their faith in God and ask why he would allow that to happen.
We have people from all backgrounds, from all faiths. When we come together and we're there for each other, we're keeping each other strong. So when you don't have the faith, I will be there for you. When I don't have the faith, you will be there for me.
St. George Mayor Michelle Randall spoke. Also, a representative of Governor Spencer Cox read some remarks from the governor. Stay with Fox 13 News on air and online as we continue to follow the developments in Israel and how Utahns are responding. Let's switch gears now to weather. It has been a rainy evening across much of the Wasatch Front. Here's a look at I-80 right now at 1300 East. This is in Salt Lake City. Really a much different story up in the canyons where we've been seeing plenty of snow in Little Cottonwood Canyon tonight, coming down quite hard. We've got a significant amount of road snow on the ground. Don't have any measurements quite yet. Let's bring in Utah's Weather Authority meteorologist Allison Krogan with a look at the forecast and what's to come.
That's right. So what we're tracking so far, several inches of snow already coming down in the Cottonwood Canyons. We've got temperatures in the 40s here along the Wasatch Front, and compared to this time 24 hours ago, it's a good 20 to 25 degrees colder across the state. Now we've got less wind than we had earlier today, although it's still quite breezy into southeastern Utah, blending right now 40 miles per hour, just about there at 30 miles per hour for Hanksville, 25 miles per hour in Price. So our front has made it into southeastern Utah. Behind it, very cold temperatures. And then we are tracking a little bit of rain into eastern Utah, mainly east of Price. And then along the Wasatch back, we're still seeing a little bit of snow currently coming down. Looks like we're in a little bit of a lull, although I am anticipating more snow and valley rain to be coming down as we head into the overnight hours. Through 2 a.m., still tracking areas of valley rain and mountain snowfall. Same thing for the morning drive tomorrow. We'll have some slick spots More on this and how long the storm will last coming up.
Now to an update in the Corey Richins case. Richins' attorney has filed a motion to dismiss all charges against her, citing misconduct. Richins is charged with murdering her husband in 2022. The attorney states in the court documents obtained tonight, they believe a fair trial in this case is no longer possible. They're now asking if they don't dismiss the charges, the court should move the trial to Salt Lake County and disqualify the Summit County Attorney's Office from prosecuting the case, as well as suppressing evidence related to the walk the dog letter and tell jurors to dismiss the state's claims Richins has engaged in witness tampering. A man now dead after an officer-involved shooting in Manning Canyon. That's near the town of Fairfield in the western part of Utah County. The Utah County Sheriff's Office tells Fox 13 News it was around 11 o'clock this morning. A man called stating that he had shot himself in the leg. When two deputies arrived on scene, the man then brandished a firearm and pointed it at them. Officials say the deputies ordered the man to drop the gun, and when he did not comply, they fired their weapons, hitting him. They began CPR until Unified Fire arrived. The man later died on scene. The Utah County officer-involved critical incident team is taking charge of the investigation. A 38-year-old man is dead after an electrical accident at a Chick-fil-A restaurant. Riverton police say this happened just before noon at the Chick-fil-A on 4627 West Partridge Hill Lane. That's where an electrician was working on a dishwasher prior to being electrocuted. Unified Fire crews attempted to revive him for 30 minutes before he was pronounced dead. The incident is currently under investigation.
We would like visitors to be cautious about where they're going, including not disperse camping on tribal nations.
We're now less than 3 days away from the next solar eclipse. And this historic event means a lot to Native Americans in Utah. We'll explain why. Plus, a new pipeline system hopes to help the Great Salt Lake from miles away. How it will feed water into the lake from Layton.
Over 4 billion miles around the solar system, and finally, the OSIRIS-REx sample that landed in Utah is unveiled to the public. We're live in Houston, Texas, with all the moments you'll only get here.
Utah's offense ranks 125th out of 130 teams in the country in total offense. Can they get better this week? We'll hear from the Utes.
Welcome back, everyone. Now to our latest Driven to Change report. The Transportation Interim Committee met on Capitol Hill today to discuss road rage. There have already been 20 deaths in Utah so far this year related to road rage, and it's a problem that's getting worse every year. The plan is to first define road rage and create new laws that would make felonies out of what are now misdemeanors. The proposed definition revolves around two concepts: a moving traffic offense with the intent to endanger or intimidate someone else, or assault with a motor vehicle or dangerous weapon by a driver or passenger following a roadway incident.
Assault in, throwing objects and brandishing firearms, and when that becomes targeted towards another vehicle specifically, whether it's, traffic violations or other criminal violations, I think that's when you're getting in there where we can clearly say that that's road rage or aggressive driving.
Beyond creating new laws with much stiffer penalties in road rage incidents, there could be added administrative sanctions. Those include loss of driver's license, vehicle impoundment, and mandatory education for those convicted of aggressive driving involving road rage. Fox 13 News is driven to change to make Utah's roads safer. If you witness hazards on the road, notice dangerous driving habits, have concerns about road safety, or perhaps you think you have a solution to any of these issues, send an email to news@fox13now.com. Well, many of us up in northern Utah will flock to the southern part of the state just to catch the solar eclipse come Saturday morning. But others will stay indoors, honoring centuries of tradition. Fox 13 News reporter Jenna Bree tells us what this rare event means to Native Americans here in Utah.
For generations and generations, Indigenous people have been honoring their connection to nature during solar eclipses.
We actually been doing this before America was America, and we'll keep doing it long after this moment.
Angelo Baca says every year they stay inside, not looking at the sky, out of respect. For that reason, Monument Valley Navajo Tribal Park will be closed on Saturday, despite being in the path of the eclipse.
The solar eclipse is an indication of how the celestial beings and bodies that are beyond us in this world give us a sense of how small that we are and how humble we should be as human beings.
Bears Ears National Monument will be open and is expecting up to 20,000 visitors.
We would like visitors to be cautious about where they're going, including not disperse camping on tribal nations, just because it's illegal, and to be mindful about parking on dirt roads, because those dirt roads actually lead to someone's property.
Samira Crank with Visit with Respect says while on public lands, visitors should remember they are treading on sacred ground.
We don't want visitors to put their fingertips on rock imagery because the oils on our fingers can cause it to degrade over time.
Even if your head is turned to the sky Saturday, Baca asks Utahns to respect what's beneath our feet.
People will spend a lot of money, they'll travel, they'll trample plants and beautiful ecological landscapes in areas that they probably shouldn't be milling around in, and even risk hurting their own eyes and their own bodies and trying to look at this thing that they consider to be beauty, but the beauty has always been there.
Jenna Bree, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Scan that QR code on your screen for more information on the many eclipse viewing parties happening all around the state. Wow, what a change today. Sunshine, mild temperatures over the past few days. Out of here. We've got rain, even snow right now.
Yes, quite a bit of snow coming down the mountains, potentially 1.5 feet of snow by the time this storm is over for the upper Cottonwoods. So we're talking about some significant winter driving conditions and accumulations as a potential up along the higher terrain. But as we go ahead, and I wanted to start off just to show you what else the rest of the country is dealing with. I feel like sometimes it's nice to know other people are also struggling. Up into Jackson, 40 degrees right now, 46 for Salt Lake City. We've got temperatures out into Phoenix close to 90 degrees, and we do have some broken clouds now here in Salt Lake. So 46 degrees, we will see some chances for some more precipitation overnight, 49 right now in Ogden, and 47 right now in Provo. So starting at 9 o'clock this morning, we had winter weather advisories that kicked in for the mountains. This will take us through noon tomorrow. We are mainly looking at 2 to 8 inches of snow along the higher terrain for the northern mountains, the Wasatch Mountains. However, we could see up to 14 inches of snow in the Uintas and maybe even 1.5 feet of snow in the upper Cottonwoods. So we want to travel with caution. We do have winter driving conditions already coming down. And I also wanted just to quickly just jog back to Salt Lake and chat about what's typical for us for snowfall. In October, we do usually average 1/2 inch of snow. We may be able to get a few flurries for some valleys as we head into tonight, tomorrow morning, and then as the storm does clear out, we're going to be very cold on Friday morning, but I'm not anticipating our first snowfall here in Salt Lake, although I'm not going to rule out the chance for some of our valleys to see some flurries depending on the timing and the intensity of the precipitation. But this is mostly a mountain snowfall, valley rain event. Right now here across northern Utah, we are seeing a little bit of a break from the precipitation here in Salt Lake, although we are still getting a few storms popping off of the Great Salt Lake, just west of the airport, so north of Stansbury Park, and then across eastern Utah, Wellington, further east into the Uinta Basin, some sprinkles. And for Salt Lake, come about 2 a.m., we're looking at some widespread showers to numerous showers through about lunchtime tomorrow. Temperatures into tomorrow morning, we're going to have you dropping to mainly 30s and 40s here across the state as you wake up on Thursday morning. And then we're also looking at some freeze warnings tonight and tomorrow night for western Utah and some central valleys and some northern valleys. For Salt Lake, we're going to be in the 40s for much of the day tomorrow. And for St. George, you're going to be about 50 when you wake up, but you'll end up rising tomorrow to 70s. 76 on Friday, 80s this weekend. And for Salt Lake, 50s tomorrow, 60s, low 60s on Friday, and then close to 70 this weekend. I'll have your eclipse forecast coming up in just a bit. We'll be right back.
Well, the Great Salt Lake may be seeing more water, all thanks to a new irrigation system installed in Layton. An 18-inch pipeline will carry water along 3,000 feet of pasture. This is replacing an old system Great Salt Lake Shoreland Preserve Manager Mike Colandriano says was outdated. He also says the new system flowing from Case Creek will save 5 to 10% more water than before.
The old system was just earthen ditches, so it wasn't very efficient. It didn't water the property correctly. So anywhere that they can improve this means just more water will stay in the environment, make its way down to the lake.
He also says it will create flooding zones and fill up freshwater wetlands near the lake, which cater to the more than 200 species of birds who rely on it. The project will be complete by Friday. Get this, a new political party is now moving into Utah. It's called the Forward Party. They say they're an alternative to the Republicans and Democrats and trying to appeal to independent-minded voters. The group submitted signatures to the Lieutenant Governor's office to qualify as a political party in 2024. That would allow them to run their own candidates next year. They are endorsing a candidate from another party, the United Utah Party's January Walker.
Forward Party has endorsed many candidates, not just third-party candidates, but mainstream candidates in the Republican and the Democratic parties, and it's those that espouse the same values of what they have. So if you are a candidate, no matter who you are, that says, I believe in ethical government, then you should be reaching out to the Forward Party.
Among Forward Party supporters, former Massachusetts Lieutenant Governor Carrie Healy, who served with Mitt Romney when he was governor of that state.
Tonight, the OSIRIS-REx sample is unveiled in Houston, Texas. I sat down with the head of NASA and the principal investigator for the project in coverage you'll only see here on Fox 13.
Federal funding for child care is over. How child care centers are scrambling to make ends meet. And from smartphones to heavy machinery, one state lawmaker's bill to give you the right to repair.
Big night for high school football with fall break here. We'll have some highlights and show you who's battling for region championships.
Today was the day for the OSIRIS-REx sample to be unveiled. It's a huge day for science and for the journey of mankind. Quite the moment when the findings were announced, all while Fox 13 News reporter Spencer Joseph was in the room in Houston, Texas. Spencer joining us live tonight. Spencer, you've been following this mission from the very beginning, and this is the big grand finale. What was said and what was revealed?
Well, the big thing that was revealed is that these samples actually have more carbon than any sample that humanity has ever been able to capture. They also had water in terms of clay inside of them, which is absolutely amazing. But the main thing is there was a lot of remembrance in terms of the finale of this. While the scientific ending and things are now here at the Houston Space Center, it was really an emotional time for those that were at the end of their journey. In fact, especially one person, principal investigator Dante Loretta, who I sat down with in a one-on-one.
OSIRIS-REx.
Altitude is 14 miles.
So 7 years.
And liftoff of OSIRIS-REx.
Almost 100 billion miles on a journey throughout the solar system to the asteroid Bennu.
Predicted tag lateral offset is 1.7 meters.
And we have touchdown!
The sample return capsule
Approximately 1 minute to release.
landed in Utah.
PDL milestone. We have confirmed parachute deployment.
Right on the money.
We have touchdown. I repeat, PDL. SRC has touchdown.
It was a picture perfect mission. and it's NASA's first ever sample from an asteroid. So, you ready to see the results of the mission? Take a break.
Today, with everything together, can you look back and go, we did it?
Yeah, it all comes down to a sense of purpose and belonging, right?
It's been nearly 2 decades at the helm of this mission for Dante Lauretta.
Everybody wants that, I think, in the world. You want to belong to something, you want to feel like you have a role and you have meaning. And that's what OSIRIS-REx gave us.
That sense of belonging translating to a big success.
I just want to start out by saying what an honor it is to be on stage here talking about the amazing results.
Another who's reflecting is the head of NASA itself, Senator Bill Nelson.
Well, you can see how proud they are, how pleased they are that they've been a part of history.
And that part of history will now go on to scientists around the world.
That's all Canadian data.
Like Tim Haltigan with the Canadian Space Agency.
And so for us, this is amazing because this makes us only the 5th nation on Earth that is going to be curating samples from an a sample return mission. So just a huge, huge accomplishment for Canada.
But there's another group that will also get their hands on the samples. Some of what the mission returned will be set aside to go to museums around the country so that kids can have a hands-on experience with history.
Well, you could see the inspiration of the kids in their questions.
What are the broader implications of the OSIRIS-REx mission?
Those kids are going to be the beneficiaries.
So now the science can begin unlocking the carbon, the water, and the building blocks of life that are within these rocks. And for Dante, that's made the years of work all worth it. The landing was emotional, now the science is inspiring, right? So what does that mean to you?
Well, now we get to have fun, right? Like the stress is gone. You just got to go in your lab and analyze rocks. It feels like a vacation, right? And it's so exciting. I mean, you're looking at 4.5 billion-year-old pristine carbon-rich material that may have led to the origin of life. It's a whole new adventure for me.
A whole new adventure for some the end of the line, but everything is going ahead as planned. NASA still has a lot of work to do to actually unpack this sample and get the science going, even more so than they already have, but a very special time, not only in Houston, but for Utah, for the world, and for the solar system. And let's even go to the universe. Kelly, I mean, this is just amazing and so incredible to be in the room and to be able to finish off this story.
Oh, I bet, Spencer, an end of a chapter for NASA and for you personally. That must have been a really neat moment. Thank you so much. Fantastic story. Onward and upward. Safe travels back, Spence.
Onward and upward.
In other news, 1 man and 6 women have now filed lawsuits against Tim Ballard and the nonprofit he founded, Operation Underground Railroad. The 2 latest plaintiffs are a married couple who separated. They say Ballard's grooming, manipulation, and sexual misconduct created a rift within their marriage. According to documents, Tim Ballard told women that he had permission from the president of the Quorum of the 12 to engage in inappropriate behavior with women while undercover, so long as they did not have sex or kiss on the lips. The lawsuit states Ballard was excommunicated by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, but attorneys would not say what evidence led them to that conclusion. Even though the 7 plaintiffs have asked to be anonymous for now, attorneys say they will be ready to testify publicly at trial.
At this point, we don't want to give a time frame for that to happen, but it's very likely that one or more of the individuals will come forward. For them to expose themselves, their children, their families, their spouses, very, very difficult right now.
Tim Ballard and his wife Catherine released a statement today before the new lawsuit was filed. It says in part, quote, "We regret that the 5 women who have come forward, though still without names and faces, are caught up in this difficult struggle we face together. 2 of these women went on actual Operation Underground Railroad operations. 1 went on a single operation, and the other woman repeatedly put herself in harm's way. 3 did not go on any actual operations as they did not make it through the training and certification process. When we started Spear Fun, Tim agreed that he is permanently retiring from undercover rescue operations." The Utah Attorney General's office also releasing a statement which says Sean Reyes was not aware of complaints against Tim Ballard. His statement goes on to say, quote, if the allegations are true and had he known of such alleged behavior, he would not have allowed use of his name and would have strongly condemned such actions. He only observed conduct that was positive, productive, and legal in his interactions with OUR and Mr. Ballard. Coming up, Utah families are struggling to afford child care. We hear from them and what they want from lawmakers. At least a dozen Utahns have become sick recently by drinking raw milk. The health department now looking into 14 cases of Campylobacterius, 10 in Salt Lake County alone. All but 2 of those who were ill say they had consumed raw milk.
In general, we recommend that people drink pasteurized milk because it is far more safe to drink than raw milk. If people do choose to drink unpasteurized milk at this time, there is an option to pasteurize it themselves at home by heating it to 165 degrees.
Now, grocery stores can only sell pasteurized dairy products. However, there are 16 dairy farms in Utah licensed to sell raw milk. Families and daycare employees gathered at the state capitol today for a stroller rally. They marched around the Capitol grounds and throughout the buildings, chanting to raise awareness to what industry professionals are calling a child care cliff. It is the sudden drop of affordable and available daycares now that the federal pandemic assistance is no longer available to help centers. Parents are asking lawmakers to find state funding so daycare enrollment rates do not go up.
The idea that costs are only going to go up from here and availability will go down is very discouraging. It puts us in tough situations where we have to make very difficult decisions.
You just heard from William Call. His wife had to quit her job because they could not afford the rising child care prices. The Century Foundation is projecting 70,000 child care programs could close nationwide, and Utah is in the top 5 states where programs could be cut by half.
We started way back in March and April. It became on our radar when Fox 13 broke the story about just the volume of school lunch debt.
Still to come, details of a proposed bill tackling school lunch debt, how it would help children get the food they need. Plus, when something breaks, who do you go in order to fix it? Legislators are looking at a bill that would impact who can make those repairs.
Coming up in sports, we'll check in with the Utes and Cougars as they get ready to return to action this Saturday. And are you ready for some cold and wet high school football? A big rivalry game plus region titles are on the line. Highlights are on the way.
Welcome back, everyone. A bill being drafted on Utah's Capitol Hill could change who can repair something that's broken. Roosevelt Senator Ron Winterton is proposing a right to repair bill. It would override agreements blocking them from taking broken equipment to mechanics not authorized by a manufacturer to do the repairs. Now, if they do, it voids their warranty. He says it is a problem for people in his community.
Hampers them from doing business and not having equipment that will run, or they get out in the field and it stops on them. And then you're put on a list and the mechanic will get to you when he gets to you.
Senator Winterton presented a concept of his bill to the legislature's Government Operations Interim Committee this morning, and it was a hit. Lawmakers wanted to see electronics like iPhones added to the list. Last spring, Fox 13 News reporting found Utah families were on the hook for nearly $2 million in unpaid school meal bills. Now, a Utah lawmaker is starting to tackle the issue of student lunch debt. This morning, Provo Representative Tyler Clancy presented the draft of the legislation at a meeting of the Utah Legislature's Education Interim Committee. The 9-page bill would appropriate $4 million to pay for the full cost of meals for students who qualify for reduced school lunch. It would also create a school meals trust fund. Those who donate would receive tax credits.
This is very targeted to hit those families who are in crisis, who are in need. I believe this is not only a responsible investment, but it really maximizes that $6 billion that we're spending at large in education.
No action was taken on this today. It is expected to be presented as a formal bill in the 2024 legislative session. The Education Interim Committee delayed a vote on recommending amendments to the Sensitive Materials Review Bill. The bill deals with taking books with content deemed inappropriate off classroom and library shelves. The amendments aim to clarify the review processes for books that are challenged by parents or educators. Legislators decided they needed more time.
And I think we're very close to being done with this issue. The standard that we're talking about, the so-called Bright Line Rule standard, and I want to be really clear about this, that standard has been in law since 2007.
There has been serious fallout in our schools and our classrooms from this bill, and some of the misunderstandings is that this is targeting same-sex couples and same-sex families.
The committee is expected to vote on whether to recommend the bill when they meet in November. Burr, did you pull out your winter coat this morning, tonight? Yeah. A sweater,
just in
a turtleneck
for my final weeks of maternity
You're
wear.
Like, this feels so good.
No, I'm like, now I got to get a whole new wardrobe for the middle of this week. Yeah.
Just a blanket, a Snuggie, that works.
Oh, a Snuggie sounds nice, doesn't it? I wish I could wear that every single day.
Wouldn't that be
on
nice?
The news.
Pregnant or not pregnant?
Yeah, that'd be so nice. Hopefully you're comfy in bed right now and staying warm, maybe next to a fire, as we've got some very cold temperatures in the forecast for tonight and again tomorrow night. But don't worry, we are going to warm up this weekend.
Okay, all right, so this is just a little dip.
Yes.
And then we'll get back to fall.
We'll get back to some nice conditions for Saturday and Sunday. And of course, we've got a really big event this weekend. Let me walk you through this solar eclipse timeline. We will see that max here in Salt Lake at about 10:30 in the morning. 10:28, it's going to depend on where you are for our maximum eclipse. And it's going to be a really great view here, even in northern Utah. But of course, that path goes through west central Utah into southeastern Utah. So the question is, what kind of cloud cover can we expect? Because we are tracking partly cloudy sky here across the state. Let me show you what we're dealing with the next couple of days. First, we've got this storm that's going to move off to our east tomorrow. Behind it, we're pulling in tons of cold air from the north. That storm exits, then we see some additional clouds streaming through the state this weekend. So I've paused this Saturday at 10 a.m. to show you that we do have areas of cloud cover here in Utah. I do think we're still going to have, at least during those couple of hours where we're going to have at least a partial eclipse, we will have some great viewing, I think. So I would not change your plans based on that partly cloudy forecast. Winter weather advisories for the mountains through noon tomorrow. Freeze warnings starting at 9 o'clock tonight, taking you through 9 a.m. tomorrow for everywhere highlighted in this purple color here across the state. So you'll want to make sure that you're taking steps before you go to bed tonight to make sure that you're protecting tender plants from the cold temperatures if you're included in that. Still seeing a little bit of rain getting going on the west side of the Salt Lake Valley. We've had quite a bit of thunderstorm activity moving through the valley at times today. We've seen areas of sleet and graupel, brief heavy rainfall at times today. And what we're going to be tracking for you as we head into tonight and tomorrow morning will be some cool temperatures. So looking at Thursday morning, 7 a.m., 30s and 40s here across the state. St. George, 77 tomorrow, 76 on Friday, and then you're heating back up. You're back into the mid 80s by Sunday. For Salt Lake, 53 tomorrow, widespread rain and thunderstorms clearing out late in the day tomorrow. Friday, 61, 68 on Saturday, and 70 for a high on Sunday.
It's fall break for schools across the state, so we had some high school football tonight. Some big games in cold and rainy weather. Start with Brighton at West. The winner taking Region 6, mostly Bengals in the first half. Caden Morzaleski picks up the ball, scores for a 21-7 lead at the break. But the Panthers used special teams and defense to flip the momentum in the third. Great punt by Kelvin Malepea down to the 1. Just keeps rolling. Then on the very next play, mishandled snap, and West pounces on it for the score. Aiseo Aguilau gets it in for the touchdown. Then on offense, it's tied up. Isaiah Sui fires it deep to Chachi Pan West won at 31-24. They sweep through region play at 6-0. Region 6 rivals Highland played at East. It rained hard in the first half, causing a lot of problems for the Rams. Antatelu Kafusi forces the fumble. Atanasi Hulutau recovered it in the end zone for the Leopards' touchdown. Put East up 13-0. They went on to beat Highland 25-7. Granger trying to wrap up a perfect 5-0 record in Region 4. The Lancers were quick against Hunter. QB Carson Suisui calls his own number. Then Suisui uses his arm this time. Screen pass for John Viniki. Sideline, then some more steps out of bounds there, but he's not called out until he gets down to the 5-yard line, leading to a short touchdown run by Jordan Tuau. Granger then recovered an onside kick to get 6 more. Suisui again as the home team led at 21-6 after minutes, and they won it 56-0 by game's end. 16th ranked Utah will host Cal this Saturday in a game they expect to win after losing their first game of the season to Oregon State. But the Utes offense, needs to improve big time. The Utes have one of the worst offenses in the country. They're ranked 125th in total offense out of 130 teams, and they scored just 2 touchdowns offensively in the last 2 games. Who knows if or when Cam Rising will return this season. In the meantime, other players on offense taking strong leadership roles.
A lot of us are being put in a lot of uncomfortable positions. It's an uncomfortable business as well, so we understand it as a football team, but a lot of us are trying to be a lot more vocal, not dependent on Cam as much being the one that talks all the time, but trying to get guys like me, Keaton, Satawa, like guys who's been on the offense for a while, getting us to talk more and be vocal and helping the younger guys understand that we have a standard that we set as an offense and we need to live up to that standard.
BYU picked up their first ever Big 12 win, beating Cincinnati at LaVell Edwards Stadium. Now they're hoping to get their first Big 12 road win this Saturday at TCU. The Horned Frogs are just 3-3, but they still have some very talented players.
This game's really important for us. We know that TCU's a historic program. They were in the national championship last year, and they've been really good for a long time. And so it's important for us to, start fast, hang in there and not make any mental mistakes or things that we can control. We got to just focus on ourselves and playing our brand of football.
That should be a good game. We'll be right back.
Well, we've got to get home and get cozy and warm, guys.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
More rain tonight and into tomorrow morning.
Well, stay where you are, hopefully nice and warm.